Dear friends, we've been talking about infidelity in marriage. Let's talk about the next question: how we can protect our marriage and prevent infidelity in marriage. So, how can the couples protect their marriages and also prevent infidelity?
Yeah, I'm glad you used the word prevent. We always say prevention is better than cure. Cure needs a long term process, but prevention also is as important. Marriage actually is one of the most sacred and intimate bonds a husband and wife can share. Because when God instituted marriage and blessed them, He said, they shall become one flesh. So when He says one flesh, their unity, their physical intimacy brings joy to God and glorifies God, and God's purpose is fulfilled. It's just not a sexual act, because God is involved in it. And that's why it's a sacred bond, we should say. So it cannot be taken easily or casually because it's a serious thing. And not only that, with all the temptations and the distractions that are around, it is important that we take note of this and guard this relationship. When I say guard, one thing comes to my mind, as we were telling in the previous podcast, the enemy is waiting, to put a foothold in the gap that we give there. So it is better that we put a hedge there and not leave any space for the enemy to get in. When I say enemy, it is the evil one, Satan, who wants to destroy God's purpose. And that's why, we have to be intentional in taking steps to protect or even prevent this infidelity, protect marriage and prevent infidelity there. In fact, no marriage is completely immune. We can say that, oh, we have already completed 40 years, 50 years, but still, the old nature is still there, and no marriage is immune to this attack of the evil one. So, taking intentional steps is important. So, we would like to share a few steps today. The first thing is to commit to the covenant of marriage. Commit to the covenant of marriage. Marriage was established by God, and when we give the covenant, when we are getting married, we are giving a pledge, not just to the pastor or the people there, it is to God, because God's word says that He is a witness in our marriage. So it is a covenant made before God. So that is something that is solemn. We have to remember that we are accountable to God first and then to the spouse there. So, if that thought is deeply ingrained in us, that we are accountable to God for whatever we do in our marriage, especially in regard to this infidelity, we are accountable to Him first and then to our spouse. We are sinning against Him and then, the spouse there. So, nothing should come in between. As Jesus says in the Gospels, we read that let no man put asunder what God has joined, let no man put asunder. Means it's not just human being coming in between. It is also anything can come in between to separate us. And infidelity is one. So we have to take note of that. So this is one way we can, protect our marriage and prevent infidelity. Then the second one is having an open communication about what's going on, what's the struggle. If suppose a spouse is noticing that he or she is going down that slippery slope there, it is better to share it with the spouse. And the spouse who is listening has a huge responsibility in listening without judgment. Open communication, open listening is very important. Honest sharing and listening wholeheartedly is very important here. We still remember in one of our counseling session, one spouse had already taken this path of infidelity, and the other spouse was greatly disturbed. In fact, they had already separated, but then since they, were believers, they wanted God to intervene. They said, we'll give another chance. And when they came to us, we asked, have you listened to your spouse who has taken this wrong path? Why it has happened? The spouse said no. Then we made the spouse who had taken the wrong path to share. Open communication happened. The struggle that the spouse was going through because of the past was shared openly. And this was a new thing for the spouse there who was betrayed. And, we could see a huge difference from then on. And the reconciliation happened. So we are very happy. Not immediately, it took some time. But then this open communication helped see a perspective there, why this is happening. And where the spouse also, the betrayed spouse has gone, contributed to this, also was an eye opener to the spouse there. So it is better. And the third thing, we would like to share here is set clear boundaries. How to prevent infidelity? Set clear boundaries. In fact, especially with the opposite sex. Don't put yourself in a situation where there is possibility of temptation. And this, I mean it. Especially in the counseling profession, people do come. Sometimes women come, sometimes men come. If it is a woman, it's not he counseling the lady there. I have to be there. We both are together. So it is better that you have your spouse on board or somebody whom you can trust on board when you're talking to a person of opposite sex, which can lead to further, temptation and infidelity. So when you sense that, it is better to set clear boundaries. And also when the conversation is happening or, you're put in a situation where you have to interact with the opposite sex and you sense that there is something, some vibes that are sent with the sexual or, connotation, then be on guard and spell the boundaries clearly in the initial stage itself. That would help the person, who is trying to intrude that, oh, okay, there is a boundary here. I'm reminded of Joseph from the Old Testament. Yeah, the lady, Potiphar's wife, was trying to send, signals over there. But every time she sent, he put the boundary there. He spelled out the boundaries there, that he is not hers and whom he trusts is holy. And I think these are very important as preventive measures. Yeah.
And to go along with this, the verse in the Bible, which says, "Flee all youthful temptations." So we can never guess from which angle, at what time, from whom, from where, temptation can come, at what age. At any age, it can come. So we need to be very, very cautious in keeping these intentionally, aware and, taking the right precautions also so that we will not fall. In fact, I'm reminded of another factor. We need to be transparent. So that is one thing, that we are very, very guarding ourselves. For example, I'm reminded of these phones, So the question that usually comes to our minds when we think of spouses is that does the husband know the password of the wife's phone and vice versa? Many times they don't know, and for a purpose, because they want to hide something. They don't want the spouse to know certain things, certain relationships, certain transactions that are going on. So these are the areas where we need to be very cautious and take the steps intentionally to be transparent. So when I say transparent, I'm not talking only about social media accounts or your phone use or anything. For that matter, anything between us should not be a secret. So I'm just reminded of our own relationship. By God's grace, we can say it is not through our strength or power. By God's grace, we don't have any secrets between us. From the day we were married till today. So For me, to think about Jessie, I don't have even an iota of doubt or an iota of suspicion. Okay, so that is the level of transparency that we need to develop over the years. And also, one temptation that falls upon us is comparison or comparing, my spouse with someone else. Especially, these soap operas and the social media has thrown open, so many images, so many videos, so many models that we always have the temptation to compare what we see on the screen with what God has provided to us. And we need to tell ourselves again and again that you are the best and not what I see on the screen. Okay. And you are God's best for me. That is what each one of us, we need to. So don't idealize others. Okay. The other spouse is always better. They always say, no, in many languages, they say the neighbor's curry is always tasty. So that has come into our system, and we think the other's spouse is always better than mine. So don't compare your spouse with anyone, whether it is on the screen, off the screen, or wherever it is. Another mistake that we do is we don't spend quality time with one another. In fact, togetherness is the secret of a long and happy married life. To be together. That is God's intention. That nothing should come in between us. And we need to take steps that we sit together, talk together, pray together, read the Bible together. And again, for God's glory, from the day we were married till today, every day morning and every day evening, we sit together, informally talk about all the things that have happened in our lives, and then planning for the day. And then we read the Bible together and pray together. And Satan is targeting that time. He always tries to disrupt that time but we have stood against him. God has given us the strength to do that every day of our lives. So that is what keeps us together. So spouses need to understand that being together, doing things together, praying together, reading the Bible together is a very, very important aspect of our lives.
Yeah, these are some steps we need to take to prevent infidelity. And one more thing I want to add as a final thing: having an accountability partner. Spouse can be your accountability partner, but then when in regard to infidelity, it is huge for the spouse who is noticing these signs to take it, if you make them as accountability partner. So it is better to have godly mentors, spiritually mature and mature enough to guide the person who feels that he or she is going down the slippery road in the right direction. And when I say accountability partner, it is sharing even the smallest of the struggle or the thought that goes on within, with the accountability partner, to be prayed for and to be guided. It's always better, because Bible also says iron sharpens iron. So it's all, and without mentors there, people perish. And so it is better to have all these accountability partners. And also one more thing to add here is, if you see that there is a slippery slope ahead and you already have stepped into that, it is better to seek help as early as possible. Maybe a counselor or some professional to help you come out of that the grip of the infidelity. So these are some things we can definitely think through as to how we can prevent infidelity.
Thank you, Mr. Vijay and Auntie Jessie. Viewers, I trust that you have gained a lot of insight on protecting your marriage and preventing infidelity in marriage. Stay tuned for the next episode. We will be talking much more about this issue. If you want to reach out to us, please call at +91 6364 252164 or send us an email. If you have a question, please write to us. info@febaonline.org. Thank you.